and Anastacia-Tolbert.
Let's see, can you hear me? Yeah? Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, Randy. Thank you, members of the Arts Commission, and to all of you for joining us this afternoon. It has been an honor for me to serve the city as Civic Poet this past 2 years, from sharing poetry with children and youth across the city to writing poems with seniors and younger residents at our public libraries, performing poems at Benaroya Hall with the Seattle Symphony Orchestra, to creating an interactive digital poetic grid of Seattle. My Civic Poet tenure has been rich with unforgettable experiences. I want to take a quick minute to thank the amazing staff at the Office of Arts and Culture for supporting my work, Randy Engstrom for his leadership, and in particular to Calandra Childers, who's standing back there, Irene Gomez, and Erica Lindsay, with whom I worked very closely to plan and execute my agenda. Many thanks also to the Seattle Public Library for partnering with me on so many projects, large and small, readings and workshops I did throughout the city. My deepest gratitude goes to Carletta Wilson, who was my point person at the library. Finally, I would like to thank the City of Seattle for having the vision to create the Office of Civic Poet and for its strong commitment to its arts in general. I believe the arts in all its forms make Seattle a world-class city. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce the extraordinary woman and poet who is my successor, Anastacia-Tolbert. From the moment I met Anastacia many years ago, passing a hallway at the old Hugo House, I was taken by her dynamic presence. Not only is Anastacia a talented and accomplished poet and writer, she has received writing fellowships from Cave Canem, Hedgebrook, Vona, Artist Trust, and Jack Straw. For the past 2 years, she served as the poet in residence at Hugo House, and this year published 3 books of poetry. That is amazing. Who does that? Anastacia is also a teacher whose work in schools and leading workshops through a myriad of local nonprofits has inspired countless youth to tap their voices and adults of all ages and writing abilities to pursue their writing passions. She has done all these things and much more. But more importantly, Anastacia is someone who cares deeply about others, about nurturing youth, about creating new literary spaces, and expanding access in our literary communities. No one could be more prepared, more poised to occupy the position at this time. I am beyond excited to see how her genius and energy will inspire and enrich us all in the next 2 years. So please, let's give a huge applause to the fabulous Anastacia-Tolbert.
I didn't come with a speech, I just came with a poem. And I want to say thank you. Thank the universe and the Creator and the Most High and ancestor and Orishas for allowing me to step into this position. And I also want to honor Claudia and say you are irreplaceable. Thank you. A poet, 77. A poet does not wish to be silent or complacent. A poet does not wish to be arrogant or look at me to any has-been or next up or up and coming. A poet does not wish to cradle any commercialized stanza or rock it to the beat of appropriation. A poet does not want to be a gentrified building in the city's oldest neighborhood. A poet does not want to be a missile misfiring a war machine or hang out in the war room. Caution, a poet will fight. A poet grows tired of the repetition of dead bodies. A poet grows tired of the repetition of dead bodies. A poet grows tired of the repetition of dead bodies and dead-end systems and death in the morning and death porn. Caution, a poet will live. A poet stays awake, contemplating, counting ways to be the highest self or better than the last best thing. Best believe there is a poet pondering right now how to be great. A poet writes about injustice just this way. A poet grows tired of the repetition of dead bodies. A poet grows tired of the repetition of dead bodies. A poet grows tired of the repetition of dead bodies and dead-end systems and death in the morning and death porn. Caution, a poet will remind you. A poet will name all the synonyms for transitions like constellations or moons, movement, passage, change from one position to another, a state, a stage, a subject, a concept, to another, change, 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 gon' come. A poet will scream, tonsils showing for good measure, and hug for no special reason. A poet will teach as much as possible. A poet will learn more than they can teach. A poet has to listen. A poet will not hide fear or disappointment or happiness in the crook of a mediocre neck. A poet will not aim for mediocrity. Caution, a poet will tell the truth. A poet values the ideas of others. A poet honors the youth. A poet honors elders. A poet is not afraid to spend quality time with either. A poet is not interested in ageism or sexism or classism or any ism for fashion or for what to put on. A poet wants their words to swag any expensive accessory. Caution, a poet will live. Caution, a poet will remind you. Caution, a poet will tell the truth. Warning, a poet will love. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia, and thank you, Anastacia.